Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our distribution and warehouse optimization webinar, specifically for Microsoft Dynamics 365 Business Central users such as yourself. In this webinar, we'll be discussing the challenges faced by warehouse operators, the 4 pillars of inventory management, and how to print barcode labels easier, and how to turn your warehouse into competitive advantage. At the end of this presentation, we'll have a Q&A section along with a special promotion only available to attendees of today's webinar, so stay tuned for that. Now, allow me to introduce the speaker, Jeff Lam, President of Global Intelligence.
Yeah, thank you, DJ, and welcome everybody, and want to welcome everybody from around the world who's attending this webinar today. And so I have the distinct pleasure of talking a bit about warehouse and distribution optimization, which I know a bit about. So about portable intelligence, why inventory management matters, the basics and the processes that's on our basic agenda today. A bit about ourselves. We offer an integrated management solution that is based on warehouse agility and inventory accuracy. Our solutions are designed for both manufacturers and distributors looking to optimize their warehouse processes without the addition of labor and or space. We've got a couple of recognitions here. We're noted as a top 5 warehouse management startup by Stardust last year. Also received some accolades and funding from the New York Region Entrepreneurship and Innovation Fund. And we're more than just the start. We've got a number of customers, close to 200 now, arrayed across a wide variety of industries, ranging from food, packaging, consumer goods, through to automotive and medical. What it means to you is that there's probably not a whole lot that we haven't addressed in the past. We're always learning constantly every day, but very likely we will have an idea as to how to handle your particular inventory management system, and it's reflected again in our software. About myself, I'm the founder of Portable Intelligence. I've got hundreds of WMS implementations that I've done. I've got a business degree from one of Canada's top business schools. I also have a professional designation in materials management. My book, Your Warehouse is Not Your Fridge, is now in its 2nd printing. I'm also serve on the Dean's Advisory Council at Schulich School of Business. I'm also on the selection committee for the City of Markham for the Sports Hall of Fame. I'm not in the Hall of Fame, of course. I'm just on the selection committee, which is a lot of fun. I'm also the Director of Education for the Material Handling Society of Ontario. Now, I'll get into why inventory management matters. And this is just a little diagram of one of our customers. And you can see all the red bubbles reflect areas where there could be issues with respect to inventory. You know, as they say, many a slip between cup and lip. And again, you know, parts can go missing. They can get labeled wrong. They can get consumed by the wrong work order or shipped to the wrong customer. Again, a whole plethora of issues that can happen. So let's understand how you evolved into having literally no problems with inventory to all of a sudden, you know, inventory is a major issue. So let's start with stage 1. And this is again out of my book. At stage 1, you're likely in made to order or an order placement or placing orders basically with every order that you receive from your customer. So you have very little inventory. As I say, life is good. In stage 2, your business is growing using this process called auto issue. If you're in case of the manufacturing, where you're automatically consuming raw materials based on finished goods production. You have dedicated storage locations, and now you're buying for stock based on history and forecasts. Okay, life is good. And again, you know, it's just representing your inventory levels increasing as you go from left to right. In stage 3, you've got lots of new customers with multiple delivery dates. If you're manufacturing, you're using concurrent manufacturing scheduling. You're starting to track for finished goods and trace, and you are stocking and shipping around delivery dates. Still manageable, but you're getting some frustrations because you're having trouble starting to meet some delivery dates. In stage 4, you are ordering materials in advance to take advantage of discounts and lead times. You're also starting to see for the first time negative inventory levels, which is basically people pulling stock out of locations of which the system does not yet have it recorded. So yes, the inventory is physically there, but you're pulling stock out of locations and it's creating negative inventory balances. And whenever you get a negative inventory balance, you have to do a count, or you have to come up with new processes. And as a result, every day feels like a bit like a minor miracle, and you're getting quite frustrated. By stage 5, you've got now lots of specialized processes to handle all those negative inventories, as well as any special labels and any customer demands. And there is now a real delta between what your system shows and what you actually have on the floor. It's anywhere from 2 to 3 days. And you're just tired, trying to keep up with everything. By stage 6, looking for inventory becomes a daily event. You're now tracking work in process goods. Again, if you're manufacturing, you're doing wave picks, batch picks. You're also you're also consolidating orders, and you're also hiring more people. And you're realizing that the warehouse is reaching a tipping point in terms of being able to scale any further. And right now, you're just a little ambivalent as to where to go next. By stage 7, you're now stocking larger orders. You're stocking heavily to meet delivery windows. If you're manufacturers, you've got sub-assemblies, raw materials in the yard. You could also be using an external warehouse. You're also facing penalties for non-label compliance. You got your fully tenured staff either leaving or retiring, and you're now hiring millennials, which presents a new challenge on its own. And your salespeople are yelling at you to get a new e-commerce portal, which is, of course, going to put more pressure on your warehouse. And at this stage, they're just worried as to what's going to happen next. And the reality is we start seeing customers come to us anywhere between stage 5 and 7. Obviously, it's a lot easier to course correct the earlier you come to us. But this is the typical scenarios that we see in terms of how inventory becomes a challenge for our customers. Now, I'm going to get into some numbers and some studies that we've done with our customers after they've used our system for a period of time. And this is a typical manufacturer. It can also be just as easily a distributor. And on the left, you see their sales over a 5-year period from 2015 to 2019. And then you've got their average inventory on hand over the same period. And it looks like it moves pretty much in lockstep. As their sales increase or decrease, so does the inventories on hand. So it looks pretty normal to me. But if you make it as a ratio, in other words, their sales to inventory levels, you'll find that their actual sales to inventory levels starts decreasing. In other words, in 2016, when every dollar drove $29 of sales, it actually declined to around $23 for every dollar of inventory in 2019. So clearly something's not right. In other words, they're not getting as much turns as they expected to. Their processes were inefficient, and that's why they actually brought us in to get back to that $29 of sales for each dollar of inventory. Now let's take a look at some of the experiences of our customers from using our system. And again, why a system matters. On the left is a health food distributor who went live with our system in 2015. The top orange line is their sales from roughly 50 million to 57 million. And you can see how their inventories actually declined over the same period. That's their inventory on hand. So they did that through the simple magic of inventory turns. So they're able to, through their efficiencies gained in using our system, they're able to actually increase their turns. And that resulted in savings of roughly $6 million. And that's $6 million of more of inventory on hand they would need in order to basically meet that demand. By increasing their turns, they're able to basically still use the same amount of inventory, but turn over faster, which would in turn save a lot of carrying costs associated with that inventory. Over on the right is an HVAC manufacturer who had sales increase of roughly 19% over that same period. Their inventories only increased 5%, again, another savings of $1.5 million. Furniture manufacturer, pretty dramatic increase again of 43%. The inventories only increased at 14%, again, large savings in the millions. Electronic distributors, same story. They're actually their inventories levels decrease. Again, savings of roughly 1.2 million. So pretty dramatic results, all because customers were able to take advantage of our system and basically put in processes that allowed them to scale their warehouse, which would in turn increase their turns. Now let's get into the basics, the 4 pillars of inventory management. And I start on the outside ring that you see here. The 4 basics are facility prep, cycle counts, transfers, and inventory lookups. Those are the things you need to do correctly at the start. And then once you've mastered those 4 basics, you get into the inbound production, picking, shipping, and labeling process itself. A lot of our customers do all those outlying 4 areas first, and then they'll add something like inbound or production as say, their first phase. So let's get into the basics, which is facility prep, transfers, cycle counts, and inventory lookups. The what is in the facility prep are things like warehouses. You're setting up your location, setting up bins, configuring your ERP or WMS, upgrading your Wi-Fi or adding Wi-Fi, making sure your parts and materials are properly identified, and any data collection tools that you may need to support your barcode scanning, along with an appropriate business review of your internal processes. The actual how is, use nomenclatures like, for example, ZABO, which is zone, aisle, bay, level, which identifies how you would go about naming your locations. You need to also create hold areas. You also need a pick path directions. You also have to decide what your units and measurements are, whether it's for purchasing, stocking, or selling. You also have to decide what labeling you're going to do as well. And we'll talk a bit about more of that later. And then the key data points you'll focus on, things like purchase orders, production orders, sales orders, work orders, things like that. And then you've got inter-branch transfers, part ideas, and license plate labeling. And also you have to decide on your barcode symbology, and as well, purchase your hardware early. I know this is a lot, and the good news is that we're going to be making my slide available for you, so you can certainly use this as a bit of a reference point. On transfers, we're going to record the from and the to, and below that is an inventory control card picture that I took at one of our customers before they put it in our system. They're basically using that card to record transfers. So if someone was manually writing on that card every time they took product in and out of that location, and you can imagine the chaos. And then that card went forward to accounting for updating in the system. So you can imagine the problems that caused. So the areas that you want to track when you're doing transfers are anything from stock to production, WIP tracking, finished goods to stock, as well as your stock to shipping areas. So you want to track the movement of materials as it moves through all those departments, whether you have all those types of departments, but anytime product is moved, you need to track it. And how the best do that is use a real-time data collection system, such as the one I'm showing you on the right here, using even transfer labels if you're moving product between warehouses, if they're particularly actual physical separate warehouses. You want to eliminate the paperwork as much as possible, because that's what happens if you're heavily dependent upon manual processes. Paper gets lost, gets written down wrong, gets entered wrong, et cetera, et cetera. So you want to capture it electronically where you can, and also be wary of auto recording. What a lot of ERP systems do is they'll record inventory movements, so that if you receive something, it's automatically received into its so-called put-away location. But what if you don't put it into that put-away location? The system thinks it's in location A100, but in reality, for whatever reason, the warehouse person put it in A101. So now you've got a discrepancy. On cycle counts, I could spend a whole webinar on this itself. What you want to focus on is setting up ABC categories for your products, making sure you're counting on location, Make sure you're deciding whether you're using velocity or value as a means of categorizing your ABC categories. Identify what kind of parts you want to count. Dedicate personnel to that process. Generally speaking, you don't want to have a new person do the count. You want to have your more senior person do the count stuff, and you want it on a set schedule. and below it's just an example of typical tags we've seen in the past. There are handwritten, and then they go forward to accounting again for data entry. How it should be done again is through real-time screen like the ones you see on the right. You should have it barcoded, as again one of our customers has done there. They got, in this case, stacked barcodes, each representing a certain level of the warehouse. And you're also making sure that they understand the differences of what they're scanning. So are they scanning eaches? Are they scanning cases? And as well as providing regular training as well for any new parts. And then you're also doing lookups. And I hold this one for the last, and believe it or not, this is the one that's rated consistently by users as the best time saver. A typical warehouse worker will walk up to several miles in a day. If they don't need to walk down an aisle to look for stuff and just do a simple lookup on their handheld device, it's a real time saver. But needless to say, when you do provide lookup, they need to be able to look up by warehouse type. They need to know what shelf, what rack, what bin. They also even need to do searches by a certain lot number or serial number. Again, it's just a question of making that data available. And again, it's also providing that lookup immediately available on the handheld. And here's the example where we have a Paris guest chair, and you've got identified as 1,005 of those in unit in inventory, and the location of that particular product. So I'm going to go to a quick demo and turn over to Nethra. He's going to show you some of those inventory bases we're talking about. So we're going to do inventory lookups, PO receiving, and maybe a transfer as well. Right? Okay. Over to you, Nethra.
Thank you very much, Jeff. Hello, everyone. So today I'll be giving you a demo for the RF Plus Business Central version. So I'll be showing you both the web version on the laptop and as well as the TC21 device that we are using, which is more similar to the Android Android phone that you have in your hand. Starting with the RF Plus on the laptop. So this is how your screen is going to look like. So you do have 4 modules available right away, which is inbound, inventory, production, and outbound. So in the inbound module, you have PO receiving and the PO put away and the QC PO release. Similarly, on the inventory module, you have a warehouse movement and the inventory lookup options. So now I will move on to the TC21 device to show how this particular app looks like on the actual device that users use on the floor. As you can see, this is a device that we are currently using. And on the device, this is how the home page looks like. And this is the inbound module that we have, and the inventory module and the production and the outbound. So today I'll be taking you through the inbound and the inventory transactions. So starting with the PO receiving. So you do have an option of either verifying through the vendor name or just checking using the PO number as well. So for example, if I go for just the graphic designer, you can see there's only one PO on the screen. And similarly, I can also check using the PO ID, which is, I'll go using 106003. So as soon as I enter that particular PO, it opens the details. And once the PO is open, you do have details about all the items that are part of the PO. So you can see there are two items as part of this particular PO, which is Paris guest chair black and the London swivel chair blue. So if you click on the particular line item, you can see all the details about that particular item as well. You can see the item code is 1900-S and the unit of measure is pieces, and the bin it's currently in is in REC 1. The quantity is supposed to be received is 8. So I'll just enter the details. So as soon as I enter the screen, so you do see how many units that are to be received right now. The line below that it indicates how many you need to receive, which is 8 in this case, and how many you receive. So I'm going to enter, for example, 2 right now, and then sorry, and then click on update. So that's going to go back to the original page, and it shows pending to post 2 units. So once you are done with that, you can always click on post. So that will update your Business Central and the databases. Just confirm it. Then click on that. So on the screen, you do see the option of capture. So what this does is you essentially might have multiple options of paperwork, or let's say you have a defective piece while you are receiving. So you can just take a picture right away and then immediately attach that picture to that particular PO so that users are available and they know that this particular item has a defective pieces as part of that. Now I will go back to the inventory. So I'll start with the inventory lookup option. So as you can see on the screen, you do have 3 different types of options that you can search through. One, by using the item name, second, using the bin, and third, either the lot or serial. This is how you can use the bin. And I'll search for a particular item in the item using the item option. So you can either enter the item number or the item name. So in this case, I'm going to enter the item 1900S. So you can see it directly open that particular item. You can also go back and then select an item from the list of items that are available below. So I'm going to select that particular item. So right now, you can see all the details about that particular item. So you can see the item code and the item name and the unit of measures, and then you can see the shelf number as well. And most importantly, right now there are 3 different values that you can see on the screen, which is the inventory that you have on hand, and the supply order quantity that you are supposed to receive, and the demand that you need to supply. For more details of this, you can click on the I button that is available right beside it. So you can see all the bins, zone, and the quantity that you have in each bin. So I'll go back and then click on the supply order quantity. Again, this is the list of all the vendors who are supplying that particular quantity and how much they are providing. And the demand order quantity, you can see all the customers whom you would be providing that particular item to. And similarly, you can see the item pricing as well. So this is for someone who is working in the store. And if he wants to look up item pricing, you can always click on this, and then he can see the price and the member price. So now I'll explain about what's price and the member price. So the price is actual sale price that you're supposed to or intending to sell the product for. And the member price could be, you might have a membership program that's going on in your store, or there might be other sort of discounts that you give for a particular group of customers. So you can always categorize the customers into a group and then have a different price.
Or it could be just a preferred customer.
Exactly. For even for the just single preferred customer as well. So, and other important feature that we would like to show is the picture button that you see on top of it. So you see the item picture, and then if you click on the I button, you can expand the picture as well. Along with viewing the picture, if you think that that particular picture is not good or it does not represent what you are selling, you can always upload or capture. As an example of capturing, I can show it to you right away. So you can always simply capture the new picture and then click yes, and then there you go, you have a new picture updated immediately. Then you save it, and there you have it. Now we'll move on to the warehouse movements as Jeff suggested earlier. So we can always click on the create movement, and you can see that list of all the items are available. You can always either type in or search for the or pick up one of the items from the list below. So I'll consider 1900 yes, and you see all the available locations where the inventory is located, and you can click on any particular bin. And right now, let's say in this case, I will type it out. So let it be AV03 C2. You can see the details are updated right here. And then the quantity I'm selecting as 1. Then I just simply have to click on create or register. So movement is created or registered. So that's how the warehouse movement is done. You can always check for this particular movement. You can go to the inventory lookup and then go to that particular location. And as you can see, earlier AV04C1 was 4, and now it's been updated, moved to AV03C2. Now the quantity is 10. That's all from my end.
Thank you, Nethra. That was great. So I just want to emphasize that everything Nethra just showed you was live software direct into Business Central, cloud version, of course, and it basically allows you to, perform all your movements in real time, be it warehouse movements, lookups, as well as PO receiving, which is a little more complicated application. So I'm going to get into the remaining parts of the next stage. So after you've had the ability to, after you've mastered the 4 basics, as we talked about that, we now can get into things like inbound. Oh, my camera's not on. You get into things like inbound, production, picking, labeling, and etc. So I'll get into that. Again, a copy of these slides will be made available so that you have something for reference. On the inbound and put away side of things, the what includes tracking incoming goods, vendor data, supplier labels, setting up parts for inspection or QC, and you're going to be capturing specific data points like the purchase order number, quantity, lot number that you see, as well as doing a screen capture. We find that's very critical if you receive, say, damaged goods or short goods. You can use that as proof against your particular suppliers. As well as you can look to receive against ASNs or advanced ship notices. The how includes receiving against a PO, doing RMAs, putting things in the whole locations as required, scanning supplier labels. This is something that you can take advantage of with Business Central. It's just a matter of setting up your vendor barcodes in there or part numbers, and then we'll basically recognize a vendor barcode and then translate that to your internal part number. And we call that the part ALS function. You also do on-demand labeling for printing labels as the parts arrive, and then you do a scan to a specific put-away location. That's the inbound and put-away. Again, very critical processes. The next one is production. And for you manufacturers out there, is the what would be, of course, issuing of raw materials, transfers to production, transfers between warehouses, recording of consumption, and then work order receiving or receiving of finished goods. And again, lots and lots of paperwork out there, be it work order, travelers, bills of materials, etc. And how we would do that is, we would label your raw materials and finished goods, create what we call a marketplace, which you see in the back here, which are assembled kits or raw materials of kits ready for production orders. Tracking these warehouse transfers of these kits, labeling them, and then doing things like around backflush. So we could talk about triggering backflush earlier, and typically around the time you do finished goods receiving. A lot of systems only trigger the backflush, which is the issuing of raw materials at shipping. So you can imagine the problem it causes. And there's a couple of screens that you would use to support those particular features. On picking and shipping, and this is where we're seeing, again, a lot of uptick these days in demand is, around order picking, customer labeling, order consolidation, packing, and creating pick lists as well. And again, as I mentioned earlier, you're likely doing batch and weight picking, license plate picking, doing load verification, and we'll run a quick little video for you on how one customer is doing that. On-demand labeling, pack lists, bills of lading, printing, do rate shopping for shipping purposes, and also sending ASNs to your customers. Now I'm going to run a quick little video, and this is one of our customers, a cat litter manufacturer and distributor, and here's a gentleman driving a forklift and loading this pallet into a trailer. And there is a system that is observing him as he does it. There's a camera system mounted on the wall here, and you can see that the monitor will flash red or green if it's a good load. Green, obviously, if it's a good load, bad if it's a bad load. And the reason why we put the system in there is because this customer was getting a lot of fines from a major retailer. And here's a more close-up view of the screen. And the green indicates that it's a good shipment, once again. Also takes a picture of the barcode as well as it's being loaded into the trailer. And again, you can see the two cameras that are mounted there to support the tracking of that particular pallet into the door there. And you can see where this person is now holding up a bad label, and you can see it immediately recognizes the bad label and puts it up red there. So that's a case where you got a customer validating a shipment automatically with the feature out of our smart warehouse platform called Vision Plus. That's something you can certainly look at later on. Now let's get into labeling. This is probably the area where we're seeing the greatest demand amongst our customers. When we first put it in the system, they're inundated with labeling requirements from their own customers. And there's some examples of labels that customers currently produce. None of it barcoded, but you can see the color coding reflecting certain statuses of those labels. The types of labels we're asked to produce any ranging from part and customer labels through to SSCC18 labels, MH10s, AIGs, John Deere, Polaris labels that are specific to those particular companies. Inspection labels, WIP labels, return to vendors, return material authorization labels, et cetera. And how we do labels is we don't just print them and let them sit there. We integrate them into the workflow. And that's the real key of making labeling processes work, is how do you integrate the workflow to support the printing of those labels on demand. Many times we create packing and shipping areas, areas and shipping areas where we put, like you see on the left here, a specific print center, which will generate those type of labels. We've got also labels for tracking scrap and offcuts, so that way they're tracked. And especially for shorter jobs or small orders, you may not necessarily need to ship a whole case or whatever, or split a case up. You may have scraps or so-called offcuts that you can use to fill those shorter, smaller orders. And then we also use label design software integrated with our system to support the printing of the labels. And those data sets, again, come straight out of your Business Central system as well. And that's it for the presentation around, you know, your 4 pillars of warehouse management, along with the more detailed aspects of it. If you need more additional information, there's lots available on our website. There's white papers and cycle counts. There's barcoding best practicing, barcoding basics. A lot of webinars on demand. We also have PI University. And that's available to our customers, and it helps them to basically help them deploy on your own without having to invest necessarily in a lot of services. We do recommend buying some services from us. However, it's all on PI University for how to deploy a lot of the systems I just talked about in today's webinar. And then I'm also a featured speaker on Manufacturing Masters, which is an expert video series that's kind of like the Netflix for manufacturers, talking about all sorts of manufacturing practices, and I cover off the one for inventory. I'm also pleased to make a special offer today. It's a 90-day free trial with 1 day of deployment setup for consultation, an approximate $2,400 value. To get in on this offer, all you need to is use this email, info@portableintelligence. There are some terms and conditions that will be applied, and one of them is that you need to be on Business Central Cloud version as well. We are on the Microsoft App Source. You just have to go to Microsoft App Source, type in your search bar portable, and we will come up, and that's, you just download, and then you're off to the races, as I say. So that's it for me now. Let's turn it over to any questions or QA that might be out in the field. DJ, do you have any questions from anybody?
Yeah, for sure. And by the way, thank you, Jeff, for that very insightful webinar. So we had a few questions that came out throughout. So firstly, what hardware is RF Plus compatible with?
Yeah, so we recommend, although Nethra did the demonstration using his Android phone today, we recommend using the ruggedized devices from companies like Zebra Technologies or Honeywell. And we do have specific model numbers that we can provide you, but they range from the ones with the keypad that you may see, keypad and touchscreen that you may see used at the Home Depots and Walmarts of the world, to just tablet type handheld device that look more like a phone. So depending on the use of it, we can evaluate on what we think is the best type of hardware for your particular situation. Again, we also support a wide range of printers, barcode printers as well.
Great. Another attendee asks, how long does it take to typically implement a solution?
Yeah, so the download and setup takes only a few minutes. And again, if you have trouble, you can certainly contact our support people who can help you out with it. But typically, you know, the biggest part of any deployment is the facility prep. If that's not done well, then you won't be able to do your transfers, your inventory counts, or even your lookups properly. The data's there, but the key is facility prep, and that could take anywhere up to a month or 2, depending on how much facility prep is needed. But once that is done, you'd be up and running within hours, if not days.
Great. So one last question: how do you print labels?
Printing labels, we use a number of third-party products. One of them that we prefer is a product called Nice Label, and it's a third-party product that we integrate into. And the nice thing about Nice Label is that it's fully cloud-based as well. It supports a wide range of printers, and all we do is we take those data sets out of Business Central that you need to create a label, send it up to Nice Label, and then it actually generates the label for you. So it gives us the most amount of flexibility. It's fast, it's very affordable, and the nice thing is that it's always supports the latest types of printers out there, which, if you're familiar with printing labels, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of different types of printers out there. Okay. Anything else, DJ?
No, great. Thank you everyone for attending. We'll shortly send you a recording of this webinar, which you can share with your colleagues, and we look forward to hearing from you in the future. Thank you.